This time I call regular meeting to order. Mr. Santa Cruz, can you please lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Governing Board President Ms. Patricia Jimenez.
Present.
Board Vice President Ms. Maria Guzman is not here. Governing Board Member Mr. Rudy Santa Cruz.
Here.
Governing Board Member Ms. Maria Hernandez is not here. Governing Board Member Mr. Harry Gerwel.
Present.
Thank you. Next, adoption of the agenda. Approval of the May 1st, 2025 regular governing board meeting minutes with executive session. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, call for the vote. Okay, motion carries. Next, approval of April 24th, 2025 special governing board meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion, changes? Hearing none, call for the vote. Okay, motion carries. Next, approval of April 17, 2025 regular governing board meeting minutes with executive session. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion, changes? Hearing none, call for the vote. Motion carries. Next, we have governing board reports. Ms. Guzman's not here. Mr. Santa Cruz?
Thank you. I have no report. I just want to welcome everybody here. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Gerwel?
Yes, Madam President. Good evening, everyone. On Tuesday, April the 28th, we attended the La Esperanza Terrace UMOM residential grand opening. There were absolutely many dignitaries there from the City of Phoenix, Department of Housing, Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, Raymond James, Redstone Industries, along with Jackson founder, UMOM Chief Executive Officer, and again, President Jimenez and Dr. Lena were there also representing Isaac Elementary School District. This was a great evening, highlighting 97U families coming into the boundaries of Isaac with their children. This is an exciting time because we can gain additional children who could become students of the Isaac School District. In addition, there will be another 149 units being built by the Phoenix IDA residents at Falcon Park project located at 1220 North 34th Avenue, which also has potentially added students into the Isaac School District boundaries. If we have not already begun, now is a good time to begin to develop a strong marketing and strategy plan that can be presented to the parents of the students, encouraging them to enroll in the Isaac Elementary School District number 5 campuses. Also as a current board member for the festival, I wanted to announce, and very proudly, that applicants for the 2024-2025 Festival Charitable Grant Cycle is officially opened for all Arizona nonprofit organizations to apply and receive grant fundings. Application will be accepted by May 17th at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Arizona nonprofit organizations may apply for one of these three opportunities: a $50,000 touchdown grant, a $25,000 field goal grant, and a $15,000 kickoff grant. The organization must have a 501c3 status with 100% of the funding serving residents within the Arizona geographical boundaries in the area Fiesta Bowl's core pillars: youth, sports, and education. Nonprofit organizations can access the application along with the grant cycle guidelines and rubrics at fiestabowl.org/grant cycle. Fiesta Bowl Charities is proud to support the important work being done by Arizona nonprofit to positively impact Arizona and communities throughout the state. And I know last year we had some applications that came in out of the Isaac School District. So I want to continue to encourage our nonprofits that are within our boundaries to apply so that they can competitively go after one of these and hopefully they get that $50,000 grant. So with that, Madam President, that ends my report.
Thank you. Next, Ms. Hernandez, she's not here. Next is myself. Welcome, good evening. Thank you for being here. First, I want to wish Happy Principals Day to all the principals. Thank you for your work and yeah, an applause. Oh, thank you. Well, May is finally here. What does that mean for me personally? We're almost close to 120 days. So I'm really looking forward to in May. I know that it's been a tough year. We'll take it day by day. I want to thank everybody that still here with us in these tough times, and we need to continue moving forward. And I can't wait till till you give your findings in May. I know we're definitely going to have news media again. But the thing is that we as a board also been going through some financial classes. On Saturday will be our last class. It's been an eye opener. It's as a board, you're here to set policies and procedures and trust people that are doing their job and just learning everything. It's an eye opener, and I know this is going to change in the future for all board members that volunteer. I know it's something that ASBA is looking into doing because it's finances is hard, and as the experts even mess up. So it's something that I look forward to this last class, and thank you very much for answering all the questions to the board, Mr. Sermon and Mr. Kenny. Thank you. Also, Mr. Guerrero mentioned on Tuesday we had the grand opening of La Esperanza Terrace. This is great. It's something great for our community, being the first district. For our families, we're looking forward to also opening the other housing starting soon. That's going to be over on 43rd and Thomas. So great things. We always have to highlight the great things that we're doing at Isaac, despite of the troubles that we're going through. Isaac is it's a good district. We all make mistakes, and we just need to continue moving forward and always being positive, and not live by the negative. Just continue fighting, and that's it for me. Next is superintendent update. Dr. Lema.
Madam President, members of the board, ISAC community, thank you for being here tonight. As we begin the month of May, I would like to take a moment also to recognize that today is Principal Appreciation Day and honor the incredible leadership that our school principals have done this year. Being a principal is one of the most rewarding jobs I have ever held, but it's also one of the most demanding roles in education. Each day, our principals guide student growth, foster meaning, relationships with families, nurture partnerships with the community, and advance teaching and learning on their campuses. This year, our principals have led with skill and heart, dedication and resilience, navigating circumstances none of us could have ever imagined and certainly did not sign up for. Despite the challenges, they have continued to show up for their students, their staff, and their communities with grace, with integrity, with strength. Their leadership is the heartbeat of our schools. I truly believe that. And we're profoundly grateful for everything that you do. The impact that our principals was especially evident in the meaningful student-centered events that took place this past week. Our youngest learners got to experience from the Stepping Stone class, celebrated their end of the year accomplishments. And equally inspiring was seeing the recognition that their parents, who engaged in their family education sessions designed to prepare them to support their child's educational journey. This partnership between home and school lays that ground foundation for our student success and is one of the many examples and efforts that are made possible by our school leaders who prioritize student learning and family involvement. El Día de los Niños celebration at the heart of Isaac and across our schools beautifully also reflected how our leaders create joy, safe spaces for our students, protecting their experience and the sense of normalcy, even as we navigate the complex adult challenges behind the scenes. Our middle school students, who are part of the Superintendent Student Advisory Council, and under the guidance of Ms. Preston, those student leaders presented their culminating project focused on making a positive impact in their local community. And after identifying that unique challenge that they faced some of them as middle school students, they selected that they're going to be focusing on the middle school students that arrive to our district not knowing English. And they proposed a thoughtful and student led peer mentoring program paired with a comprehensive welcome guide to support both students and their families. And I am so excited to see their vision take shape next year. This kind of student empowerment that I just described not only flourishes in schools where principals believe deeply in their students' capacity to lead and make a difference. Principals, please stand up so that you can receive from all of us a warm congratulations today on your Principal Day. Thank you for all your hard work, your dedication, and your leadership. And that, Madam President, concludes my report.
Thank you. Next is new business information discussion and action. Auditor General Risk Analysis presentation, Dr. Lily Lema, and Interim Superintendent, and Megan, I, I'm sorry, Heger, and Amanda Wynn. Go ahead, Dr. Lily.
Madam President, members of the board, ISAC community, this evening we'll receive an important update from the Arizona Office of Auditor General regarding our district's current high-risk status. We're joined by Mrs. Megan Higler and Ms. Amanda Wynn from the Auditor General's offices who will be presenting this update.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Yes, as she said, my name is Megan Heger. I'm Director of the Accountability Services Division at the Arizona Auditor General's Office. And presenting with me today is Amanda Wynn. She'll come up in a little bit. Thank you for providing time in your meeting today for us to walk through our office's school district financial risk analysis report website. We are here today to present your district's January 2025 results as one of the 2 highest risk districts we identified in that report. And then we can answer any questions that you may have. So first off, the purpose of this report is to provide district decision makers, such as yourselves and stakeholders, with data and information to help you better understand your district's financial risks. The measures in the report relate to the district's overall risk of not being able to operate within its available cash resources and budget constraints. Our analysis focuses on identifying the districts at the highest risk based on both their current and potential future financial difficulties. Districts that currently spend more than their budget limits or available cash resources may have missed the signs of their increasing risk in the years their revenues or spending reserves were substantially decreasing. ISAC has been in the highest risk category since our first report issued in December 2020. We were here last August, if you may recall, to present our December 2023 results to you all. And then throughout the past 4 years, we've sent the board our annual updated risk results, including a summary of the district's high-risk measures and the responses that your district management provided each year to describe actions that they had taken or were planning to take to address the district's financial risk. So this is going to be an update where we focus on the most recent measure results, but we'll walk through a little bit of describing the measures as well, just to help in better understanding each of them. So we gather updated data for our analysis throughout the year and meet with district management from the highest risk districts as well as the approaching highest risk districts to help them better understand those risks. Since ISAC is in the unique situation as one of the 2 districts now operating under a state-appointed receiver, we're now meeting with Mr. Kenny to understand his actions in bringing the district back into solvency, which will help address many of the risks that we talk about today. So just to mention as well, in addition to our financial risk, our office has identified ISAC as being in non-compliance with the USFR. We first notified the district in July 2024 based on the district's fiscal year 23 audit reports and compliance questionnaire. Statute provides the districts 90 days to correct deficiencies cited in its audit. And in October 2024, we received the district's corrective action plan that indicated the district had not made enough progress in correcting deficiencies to warrant our office's review. Therefore, we notified the state board of the district's continued noncompliance. Um, I bring this up, those are separate processes, the noncompliance from this financial risk, but they can relate in some ways, and some internal control deficiencies in areas like spending and oversight approval. Having those deficiencies can lead to some of the financial risks that we see as well. Just in addition to that, I just also want to note that we've also recently sent a letter to your district regarding its audit reports for fiscal year 24, just noting that we had not received those reports yet that were due on March 31st. And so the district now has 90 days, similar to the noncompliance to submit those audit reports to our office. So for this presentation today, we're just going to walk through our web-based report site for the financial risk. A link to that site should have been included in your agenda today, but we also just kind of wanted to walk through how you get to it in case anybody else wanted to get back to it at a later date. So you can find it on the homepage of our website. And then it takes you right up here. And now Amanda's going to come and talk through some of the report site for you.
Thank you, Megan. As she said, I'm Amanda Wynn. Since all of the members were here last year, we're just going to do a brief overview of the report site before we get into the district results. So she showed you on the bottom of the page how to get there, and then this overview page provides you a summary of the statewide results, as well as showing the current highest risk districts, as well as the approaching districts. We also have the different categories of the measures. They're broken into 10 measures, but in 7 different categories that are briefly described here. If you want to know more, there is more information on the measures page. I do want to draw your attention to the financial risk template here. These 2 resources can be used to make a financial risk action plan, and the guidance template can be downloaded to learn more about what maybe caused your risks. We provide a step-by-step process in there and examples to help the district develop a plan to identify and address your financial risks. So we do require the highest risk districts to provide an action plan to help users of this report understand actions the district has taken or is planning to take to address this financial risk. The district did provide an action plan in December that is posted on the district's result page. However, that action plan was submitted prior to the State Board of Education placing the district in receivership, so the planned actions may not still be applicable. At the bottom of the overview page, we have our cycle that shows that we just contact you throughout the year, as well as our report. And at the very bottom is our data file. So if you like to get into the data, we have that at the bottom that shows all districts for all measures, as well as indicating the highest risk districts. So then we go back up to the top. So if you want to know more about the measures, there is a tab up here. We're going to go to state results just really quick. So you can see at a statewide level who's high risk for each of the measures, as well as there's a more comprehensive by district. But you can also do it by county. So you can search by Maricopa County, or you can do it by a certain school district, by a legislative district, and that can just help you if you want to do some comparisons. And you can also filter this in different ways. So since Maricopa County is big, you might want to pick out certain types of districts. All right, next, we're going to look at our measures, and Megan will go over the first one.
That's okay, I can get to it. Okay, so as we move to the district results page, excuse me, for each of the high-risk districts, we include a narrative summary of the risks that we've identified. And that's to help better tie together some of the information that we're going to go over in just a minute on each of the cards, and just provide some additional information in there as well. So if you haven't, I would suggest taking a read of that. And then right below that is the district action plan that Amanda described. So that is the plan that was submitted to us under the prior management in December 2024. So just keep that in mind if you're going to be downloading that and reading it. So we're going to walk through. We have 10 different cards here that represent the 10 measures that we look at, and we're going to walk through each of them to talk about what it is that we look at, what the district's results were, and then we have the data behind each of those measures as well. So Isaac was high risk for 7 of the 10 measures that we analyzed in our process. But one of the 3 measures not identified as high risk is just not applicable for the district because it's too large to be eligible for a small school adjustment. So we'll just kind of skip over that one a little bit once we get there. As Amanda mentioned it briefly, but there is a link right here to the measures page of our report site. As you're going through this, it might be a good idea to have that open because we go really in depth into what each measure is, what it's telling you, how we identify districts as high risk for each of these measures, just to give you a little bit more insight beyond just the numbers that you're going to see on the screen. So the first measure that we're going to talk about is the change in weighted student count. So what this measure shows is a change in the Group A weighted student count for the district over a 1 and a 4-year period. We obtained the weighted student count information from the Arizona Department of Education. The Group A weighted student count is representing funding for common student needs that's provided to all districts based on size and location. And then we look at these student count decreases because they generally result in decreases in revenues as well. So if a district is experiencing substantial decreases in student counts and does not adjust its spending accordingly, it could exceed a statutory prescribed budget limit. So we look at both the 1 and the 4-year change because both long-term declines and also a single-year substantial decrease can have a big impact on a district's budget. So Isaac's weighted student count has been declining for several years. The analysis tab that we have up here shows a 9.9% decrease over the 4 years, but it does show a slight increase for the last year. So from fiscal year 24 to fiscal 25, which is our current year we're in right now, there was a slight increase of 0.1%. So we can move over and look at the actual data for that and what it shows. So you can see over time, looking from 2021 at the bottom up to the most recent at 2025, there's been a pretty steady decline over that time. Beyond this, we capture just a 5-year period for each year's analysis. But as we said, we've been doing this report since December 2020. So looking back, since our first year of the report, the first year we would have looked at was 2017. The district's weighted student count at that time was around 7,800 students. So coming back from 2017 to where we are now, that's a very substantial decline, which amounts to about 34% over that time. The weighted student count measure is really one of the more predictive measures in our analysis. District boards and management should be monitoring this information to understand when you need to adjust spending based on the resources available. Just to mention, there are some districts out there who do some additional work to try to get some predictive numbers. I'm not sure if Isaac participates in anything like that, but trying to really anticipate what district student counts are going to be in coming years to help in making budget decisions. But you can also just monitor current information. So the Arizona Department of Education publishes student count reports monthly. And you can access those reports. They're available publicly on their website to just monitor how the student counts are doing throughout the year, since it does relate to your funding for that year as well. As of April 25, I did just want to note the district student count has gone up a little bit even from what we have reported here. So it's at about 5,297 as of April. So something to continue monitoring throughout the year. Up next, we're going to look at two measures to assess the district's budget limit reserves and spending within its budget limits. I know you are all aware that the district exceeded its budget limit in fiscal year 24, and that those budget over expenditures made the district insolvent and led the State Board of Education appointing the district's receiver. So just for a little bit of background on what budget limits are, every Arizona school district annually adopts a statutorily prescribed maintenance and operation and unrestricted capital outlay fund budget limit. Those are the two main funds for every district. And that's what we analyze in both the operating and capital budget limit reserve measures you see here. Those limits are in part based on the student counts that we just talked about in the last measure. So as those student counts are declining, the district's budget limits are likely declining as well. In October, after the end of each fiscal year, the Department of Education compares the district's actual expenditures to its budget limit to determine any unspent operating or capital budget reserve that can be carried forward to future years. And so those are the numbers that we're looking at for each of these measures. A negative number, like we see for Isaac, indicates overspending. And what that overspending means is that the district must then reduce its budget limit in the next year by those overspending amounts. Okay. As you can see on both the operating and capital budget limit reserve measures, they show decreases of 100% for both the 1 and 4 year, and that's the result of the overspending negative amount that we see in the data. So we can see the overspending amounts that we have here. And as we describe in our summary of risks on the district's page, those over expenditures weren't initially identified throughout fiscal year 24. And that was the result of the district failing to report expenditures in appropriate funds throughout the year, and then submitting a misleading and inaccurate financial report to the Arizona Department of Education, which prevented that over expenditure from being identified initially. So after that, CSS officials and ADE required the district to revise its AFR and resubmit that information in December, which resulted in the overspending amounts in the district being reported to the state board. So now with Mr. Kenny appointed as receiver, that's his role now, identifying a plan to bring the district back into solvency and overcoming this budget limit expenditure essentially. So moving forward, it will be critical for current and future district finance staff to monitor spending and budget limits throughout the year. Similar to student count reports, ADE also publishes monthly budget limit reports that you can access publicly on their website. So we really recommend district management monitor those budgets monthly throughout the year, compare them to planned and actual spending to ensure the district is staying within its budget limit and whether any adjustments need to be made. So one more thing to just keep in mind in relation to both these budget limit reserve measures, as well as this impacts the financial measures Amanda will be talking about next, is the COVID-19 relief monies. So those monies were available to the district between fiscal year 20 and this just past September 2024. So we don't look at the actual spending from those grants. However, they impact the numbers that we see here because those were additional monies available to the district throughout this time that we're analyzing. So the district was awarded a substantial amount of COVID-19 relief monies with approximately 61 million in awards from fiscal year 20 to 2024. So those grants just expired in September. So it's important for the district to understand where those monies were being spent in past years and how things need to be adjusted going forward when they're not available. We also understand that the district did lose a substantial grant during that process. I believe they have gained it back, but those are all just things to consider and remember as you're budget planning and making decisions going forward.
So we're going to move on to the financial position general fund measures. While the two budget limit reserve measures are looking at how much the district is legally allowed to spend, these next three measures focus on the general fund financial position, which analyzes components of a district's primary operating funds, revenues, expenditures, and ending balances to identify potential risk related to general fund resources. So although each of these measures looks at similar financial data, they focus on different relationships within that data. The general fund measure results often relate to the operating budget limit reserve measure, since the maintenance and operation fund is the main component of every district's general fund. It accounts for all financial resources used for maintenance and operations, except those required to be accounted for in another fund. So the general fund amounts were obtained from fiscal year 23 audited financial statements and the fiscal year 24 unaudited annual financial report that was submitted to ADE in December. So to avoid distorting the measure ratios, they should not be compared to each other. Therefore, it's important to pay attention to the data source and the year. So the first measure here is the operating reserve ratio. This shows the percent of general fund monies held in reserve for future spending, your fund balance, compared to your total spending from the prior year. A negative operating reserve ratio indicates a negative fund balance, which means the district must use monies received in the following year to cover prior year spending. The district's negative 8% operating reserve ratio is considered high risk. And then if we look at the data tab, you can see this is due to the $4 million general fund deficit in fiscal year 24. So according to Maricopa County Treasurer's Office, the district had a total cash deficit across all funds of $42.7 million as of June 30th, 2024. That number may have changed some since our report issuance and various actions the receiver has taken. But the district has been using tax anticipation notes and registering warrants with the treasurer to accommodate overspending with its cash deficit. The district issued $15 million and $8 million in TANs in fiscal years 23 and 25 respectively. The district incurred over $340,000 in borrowing costs from registered warrants in fiscal year 24 alone. So moving on to the general fund operating margin ratio. This shows the percent of district general fund revenues not spent in the year received for each of the most recent 2 years. A negative ratio indicates that the district spent more money than it received for the year. So as you can see, the district's maintenance and operation fund budgetary overspending also resulted in general fund expenditures exceeding revenues, which is reflected in this negative operating margin. In fiscal years 23 and 24, we have the negative 3.8% and the negative 0.2%. And then if we look at the data tab, you can see that both of those years, the revenue was less than the expenditures made. So the district should evaluate spending in fiscal year 25 to ensure that spending is within your budgetary and cash constraints. Next, we'll move over to the change in fund balance. This shows the 1-year percentage change for each of the most recent 2 years in the district's general fund balance. Declining fund balances or a negative fund balance in the most recent year indicate higher financial risk as less resources remain available for current and future needs. The district's result on the measure are a further reflection of the other results we have discussed. The district spending exceeding revenues and allowable budget capacity resulted in its general fund balance decreasing by 69.8% from fiscal year 23 to 24. If we look at the data tab, it shows that that amounts to a decrease of about $1.6 million from 23 to 24. Next, we'll move down to this next row. Capital monies redirected to operations is a measure that shows the percentage of intended capital funding districts have redirected to operational spending rather than capital spending in the current year and on average over the last 5 years. So while districts can choose how to allocate their operational and capital monies based on their anticipated needs, districts that direct a substantial portion of their intended capital funding to operational spending may be at higher risk if they are putting off necessary operational spending cuts or when large capital spending needs arise, especially if you have lower than average capital reserves. So on this one, the data tab will show you that the district is moving a portion of its capital funds into operations over the last 5 years, but has not exceeded our high risk threshold of 25% in either the current year or on average over the last 5 years. I wanted to bring it to your attention as you're looking at your spending. The district is not eligible for the next one for small school adjustments, so we're going to skip over that one. The frozen tax rate measure, this identifies the risk if a district's primary property tax rate is frozen by the Property Tax Oversight Commission. A frozen tax rate by itself increases a district's financial risk, and it can affect other measures through unfunded operating and capital budget limits and negative cash balances, which further increase financial risk. The district's primary property tax rate was frozen every year from fiscal year 2017 to 2024, except for in 2020. The district tax rate is currently not frozen for fiscal year 25 or for the upcoming year, fiscal year 26. So in past years, when the district's tax rate was frozen, it was not able to generate enough property tax revenues to meet its allowable budget increases, which contributed to the district's ongoing negative cash balances and increased borrowing costs throughout those years. The bottom measure here is that the district is operating under a State Board of Education appointed receiver due to gross mismanagement or insolvency. Arizona Revised Statutes 15103 and 15107 gives the State Board of Education the authority to appoint a receiver that is authorized to override any decision made by the district's governing board, superintendent, or business manager. The receiver can reorganize the district's finances and budget and terminate any district employee, including the superintendent and business manager, if the receiver determines such actions are in the district's best interest. So as we have already discussed, the State Board of Education placed Isaac in receivership in January of this year due to his operating and capital budget limit overspending. So districts that enter receivership after serious budgetary overspending and cash deficits that have accumulated from district operations, these circumstances lead to receivership, and it can help keep them in receivership. And this indicates a higher financial risk since the district must make adjustments not only to achieve a sustainable balance of revenues and spending in its current operations, but also to correct the prior overspending and cash deficits that led to the receivership. The last piece on this page is just the less common revenues. And this shows that the district did receive in fiscal year 24 voter approved M&O override, as well as desegregation funding. So if you're looking to compare yourself to other districts, you'll want to keep in mind that you did have some extra funding sources. Now I'll pass it to Megan.
Okay, so we're really just gonna wrap up now. I would really like the board members to basically take away 3, I think, main important pieces of information from this analysis. The first, I know you're all aware of, and that's that the district's prior overspending is the biggest obstacle for the district right now that it needs to overcome. Mr. Kenny, your receiver, is analyzing the district's finances and considering or developing a plan, for bringing the district back into solvency. The second, I think most important, is the district's declining student enrollment. The 39% decrease since 2017 is a very substantial amount. And so the district should be monitoring that and considering those declines in its budget decisions. And then lastly, the district's cash deficits that go beyond its overspending continue to be an issue that must be addressed along with that budgetary overspending, as those cash deficits are cost the district quite a bit in borrowing costs. So as the district prepares any fiscal year 25 budget revisions in your new fiscal year 26 budget, you should be looking into the causes of these risks. So I think that's an important thing to remember as well. These are identifying the risks. This is showing where the district stands. The important thing to do next is identify what those causes are and how you can address them. So my team will continue to gather our analysis or our data throughout the year and communicate with Mr. Kenny and Mr. Serban, the Chief Financial Officer, throughout the rest of the year. And we'll publish an updated analysis this coming January 2026 with the most updated information that's available at that time. So with that, that's all that we have to share today. I'm happy to take any questions that anybody might have.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions?
Yes, Madam President.
Mr. Garrow?
Ms. Hager, good to see you again. I know last August you were here and
Yes.
we went through these numbers pretty significantly as well.
Mhm.
So I do have just a couple of questions, and one in particular is just for clarification. Could you explain to our audience what TANs are, tax anticipation notes? Because you mentioned that and the fees that were paid on it, and that was one of the cautionary notes that you just put in for cash.
So a tax anticipation note is a short-term borrowing mechanism. It can be issued by a government who has anticipation of receiving tax but has not received it yet. So it's intended to be monies to get the district from the time that it has not yet collected property taxes to the time that it can collect them. I believe there are restrictions on the amounts that can be used based on the amount of anticipated property taxes that would be coming in. And then those tax anticipation notes have to be paid off within the same year that they're issued.
Okay, so it's just borrowing money, right?
It's a short-term borrowing mechanism. Mhm.
All right, thank you. And I think this next question is probably either Mr. Kinney or Mr. Sieber will, well, maybe you won't be able to answer. But since the property tax is not frozen any longer, what can we anticipate as far as revenue that we can get from those that we had not been getting in the past?
Well, so the district would have to work with the county school office in setting its tax rate. So there are some restrictions on it in how much a tax rate can even be increased. So I would recommend I don't know, maybe Mr. Kenny is already, but working with the county school office to identify um, what's available. But it still has to look at your budget limit,
Okay.
and there's some restrictions that relate to that.
All right, then just one burning question that I've been,
Sure.
dying to ask you. Because it's the Accountability Services Division, when we recognized Isaac as high risk in year 3, was there any opportunity for us to be appointed at a level 1 fiscal crisis team in order for us to be able to start to address these? In other words, could a level 1 team been assigned to us under 15-107 subsection D, paragraph 2, that may have somehow mitigated us getting in as deep as we had?
Without having the specific paragraph wording in there, I don't know that I could provide an answer to that question right now.
Okay.
That's not something I could answer at this point with the information I have available.
No, that's fine. If you can get that back to us. And part of that also is just because it's a good question to be asking, especially for some of our school districts that are starting to get into this risk area.
Hmm.
And I think again, we could help other colleagues in the state, right, to help prevent or maybe mitigate getting into the position we got to. So if you could get that answer back to us, that would be great.
I'll do my best, see what I can do.
Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
has-
Let's see. It's
So Megan, you mentioned the fact that there was these ESSER funds from 20 to 2024. The ESSER funds aren't included in this analysis. That's correct? Right?
Correct. Hmm.
So is it possible, because the ESSER funds typically grants are a 1-year period and they close out every year? Right?
Hmm.
These were 3-year grants. Is it possible that some of this overspending could have been in prior years, but were hidden in the grants?
Again, I think that's a hard one to answer without having the information available.
No, I'm not asking you to say whether it happened here.
Yeah.
Is it possible that could have happened in the sense, in a way that, because you're not looked at the negative
Mhm.
grant fund balances, and isn't it true, if the grant is overspent, those funds then have to be brought up into a budget, up into one of the budgetary accounts to cover those costs?
Yeah. I suppose it could have hypothetical, but like you said, I can't say whether or not that was in this certain situation. I will add one of the reasons that we don't look at grant funds is those often run on negative balances. So seeing negative balances in those funds because they run on a reimbursement basis wouldn't have necessarily identified right off the bat that overspending or risk was identified.
And I agree with
Yeah.
your point there, but isn't it true that most grants are on a 12-month basis fiscally? So
Um,
they have to zero out at the end of the year. So you would notice it over it continue right in the sense of the 3-year grants, and then
mhm,
really you can almost look at it as a 5-year grant
almost.
because you started in 2020 and then closed in 2024.
Mhm.
You had one grant year after year closing 3 years. Could be easily have been funds been moved and hidden.
I would say a hypothetical yes.
That is a possibility. I'm not saying that it
Yeah.
happened here. I'm just asking you, is that would be something that wouldn't have been caught in your
Correct.
analysis.
Yeah, correct. That would not have been identified in our analysis.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And like I said, we'll come back. And then if any members ever have any questions, happy to answer them at any time. Just can reach out to our office. And Mr. Garrowell, we'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Can you leave us your business cards with
Yes,
Nubia,
we
please?
can.
Thank you. Next, we have another presentation, approval of placement schedules for FY 2025-2026. Mr. James Sermon, Chief Financial Officer. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Sermon.
Madam President, Dr. Mesa, we sat down as a group with the business department, HR, the receiver, and went through the certified and classified placement schedules and made changes that also conform to the new organization chart and the job titles that are within that chart. Um, we took a look at the classroom site fund amount that's going into the base salaries if in effect. And that amount was changed to $3,500. So the chart in front of you, and if do we have one to put on the board? The chart in front of you then reflects that $3,500 in the placement schedule. This is not in the old sense a salary schedule, but a placement schedule, which means when an employee is applying, if someone's applying here at the district, we look at the placement schedules to see where we'll put them on the chart itself. It is not a guarantee of increases every year like the old style salary schedules worked. Instead, this is just a placement schedule for a new employee. Does help then down the road to use this kind of table to catch where you've got bands of employees that are at different rates so that they should all really be moving along based on their years of experience, their college education background, and in some cases their job titles and duties. Um, we also um, we took the stipends, and instead of being added to the base salary like it has been in the past, it will be stated separately on their agreement. So this chart does not include any stipends within it. We removed positions that were on the old schedules because some of the positions no longer exist within the district. We think that this is, from a financial standpoint, is reasonable. It's doable, and we would like the board to consider approving it so that human resources can now go out and show potential employees what the placement schedule will mean for them. Any questions?
Does the board have any questions?
Just,
Mr.
just
Guerrero?
one clarifying question, Seba. When you said the stipends were not going to be included in the base, had they been included in the base before, and was that part of the benefits, or?
It in some cases it was part of the schedule of salary in already. They added it into it.
Okay, so it was scheduled salaries.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Can you clarify again the 3,500 again? Is that, you said that's not the base salary? Can you just give me more
So
clarification on that?
that's a good question. The $3,500 comes from the classroom site fund. And that is additional monies available to all public school districts, and it's generated from land trust sales and interest. And it was done through a proposition, and the voters approved it. They've also extended it, and this provides additional money to add to teacher salaries. Also, people that are directly involved with in the classroom and students face to face, they're also entitled to it. So the law was changed a few years ago to allow paraprofessionals, for instance, to receive some money as well. This schedule and the $3,500 is for just classroom teachers. It is not available to administrators. It's not available to people that are not within certain groups that are provided by the statute.
So this, what we have in front of us is a placement only. Just for clarification, is for people that we're hiring, employees that we're hiring. This is what they're going to be looking at to place them, correct?
And they will prospective employees will compare our schedules online to other district schedules online. So it is a competitive marketplace in that standpoint. So most districts include the 301 money within their placement schedules.
So the current teachers that we have now working with us, they're at a different salary schedule.
There is no real schedules anymore. Instead, they have a place, they have a salary, and provided at some point in time when we can do increases, they will receive, usually it's a percentage increase on the salary they're currently getting.
And can you tell me the process or how you guys came to this conclusion? Did you involve the teacher association? Did you guys get together, or how did this come about?
That would that would be simply it was generated. Um, we came up with the numbers, what worked financially, and at that point,
Based on our financial availability funds. I mean, and most districts most districts pay between 2,500 and 3,500. And all the districts I've ever worked on, they're usually between 25 and $3,500 as additional pay out of their classroom site fund. Um, so obviously, I mean, the financial status of this district requires us to we have a staff reduction for one, and two, there are a lot of things going on there that the classroom site fund is not restricted to just this additional base pay. It can be used to pay salary portions of salary or other salaries that of the qualified things. So where M&O is lacking to cover those costs, classroom site fund can assist in retaining these employees, so we don't have to release them and stuff by paying some salaries out of classroom site fund. So in this situation here, some of the reduction is so that we can retain some funds in the classroom site fund to cover costs and make sure that we're able to meet all salary needs.
Because I know that some of our teachers are leaving us to other districts because they're going to get a higher pay, and I understand the crisis that we're facing. But my question to you, when we start the new school year in 2025 in July, and we're getting a new budget, and I know we talked about adjusting to certain things and pay off our debt. Are we still looking to doing the it's in my head, the bond? Because I truly believe by paying the debt, because can these schedules be modified in the future? I mean, do we have to stick to them through the whole year? Can if we get more monies, depending what you find, what you do, can we modify it to be at a more competitive? Because I'm just afraid that where we're at, we're just going to be losing more teachers already.
Let me say this. Basically, I mean, the contracts are set up so that there can be a modification to the pay scale subject to funds being available. And I think we can ask the HR director if that's correct, but I believe so. So there's always the opportunity to adjust for an increase in pay that would come before the board if there were funds available. We have a bigger crisis right now in the sense there. And so that we right now rather make sure that we have funds to keep the district open as opposed to throwing all the money out in salaries and stuff there.
Okay,
So,
and
I mean, teachers won't get any money if the door's closed.
well, I understand, that you're pretty much in control and you're making the decisions, and whatever the board says, you're still going to override it. But I truly believe, when the new year comes, school year, and that's why I'm asking the question, if we get more monies, that you also involve the teachers. We just want to make sure we also, since I've been here all my years, I'm always making sure that we take care of our teachers. They're the ones that are here and being with the kids, and I just don't want to see them, going to other districts, especially the teachers that have been here a long time with us. They've been very dedicated to Isaac.
I understand that. We're not trying to punish anybody. We're trying to keep the doors open, and that's what you need to understand and stuff there. So subject to the availability of funds, we will revisit. We can revisit, but at this point in time, you know, I'm trying to just right size all these expenses and stuff and get a grasp on where we're going to be. Um, you say, you know, we're going to have a new budget too, but we also have a negative budget that's going to reduce our budget. We got, I mean, as was shown in here in the capital negative carry forwards and stuff there, that reduces our available funds that are going to be available to pay next year's operating costs. Additionally, as you know, in order to get the teachers paid, we had to take a loan, and that loan includes interest. That interest comes out of your M&O funds, which reduces your available funds for next year's operating too. So you have to take into consideration all your costs in order to operate. So all those things are considered, and so every place has to be looked at and how to make that plan, the budget last for next year. The state didn't hire me to keep going negative. It hired me to reverse those funds and to reverse that direction. And so from that aspect of it, and we still have a long ways to go in figuring a lot of things out here. So as we dig in, and like I said, if there's funds available and once we get things right, there's a lot of corrections that need to be made, then we can revisit that.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Call for the vote. Okay, motion carries. Next, can I have approval of the whole consent agenda? A motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Call for the vote. Okay, motion carries. Next, we have call to the public.
Madam President, we have one request to address the governing board. I would like to remind the public that personal attacks upon board members, staff personnel, or other persons in attendance or absent by individuals who address the board are discouraged. Presenters are cautioned that statements or representations concerning others that convey an unjustly unfavorable impression may subject the presenter to civil action for defamation. Policies KE, KEB, KEC, and KED are provided by the board for disposition of legitimate complaints, including those involving individuals. Upon conclusion of the open call to the public, individual members of the board may respond to any criticism made by an individual who has addressed the board. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Felicia Briones.
Buenas
Mi
tardes.
nombre es Felisa Briones. Yo solamente vengo a hacer una petición para la escuela de Ice Middle School. por medio de la presente de las madres de familia de Isaac Middle School, queremos expresar nuestro más sincero agradecimiento tanto a Mr. Sotomayor por su excelente labor como director, a Miss Screener, quien ha sido una figura clave en el liderazgo de nuestra escuela. Sabemos que Mr. Sotomayor dejará un gran vacío en nuestra comunidad educativa. Su trabajo ha marcado una diferencia positiva y ha fortalecido la conexión entre escuela y estudiantes y familias. Lo extrañaremos profundamente, pero también reconocemos que deja un equipo fuerte, comprometido y preparado para seguir creciendo. Es por eso que solicitamos respetuosamente que se considere a Miss Screener como la persona indicada para asumir el cargo en el que deja ella. Ha demostrado ser un líder cercana, accesible y firme, con un gran compromiso hacia nuestros hijos y toda la comunidad escolar. Conoce nuestras necesidades, ha trabajado de la mano con nosotros y confiamos plenamente que continuará con el gran trabajo que ha logrado hasta ahora. Como madres creemos firmemente en su liderazgo. Sería una continuidad positiva del legado de Mr. Sotomayor y una oportunidad para seguir fortaleciendo nuestra escuela. Agradecemos su atención, esperamos que esta petición sea tomada en cuenta con el mismo cariño y compromiso con el que ha sido escrita. Atentamente, familias de Isaac. Bienvenidas, chicas.
Yeah, if you want to translate, please.
To whom to whom to to who to whom it might concern, we the parents of Isaac Middle School would like to express our sincere appreciation to both Mr. Sotomayor for his outstanding leadership as principal and to Mrs. Scribner, who has played an essential role in our school's success. We understand that Mr. Sotomayor will be moving on. And while we deeply miss him, we also recognize the strong and commitment team he left behind. His leadership has made a meaningful impact and strengthening the relationship between the school students and families. For this reason, we respectfully request that Mrs. Scribner be considered for the principal position. She has proven to be accessible, supportive, and capable leader who truly understands the needs of our community. She has worked closely with our families, and we trust that she would continue the great work that has already begun. As parents, we firmly believe her leadership would be a positive continuation of Mr. Sotomayor's legacy and an opportunity for our schools to keep growing in the right direction. Thank you for your attention and for considering this heartfelt request. Sincerely, parents of Isaac Middle School, then the parent welcome the group of parents from the school.
Okay, thank you.
Madam President, that concludes the call to the public.
Thank you. Next is our enrollment, 5,029. Calendar, National Teacher Appreciation Week, May 5th through the 9th. May 7th, National School Nurse Day. Our next regular board meeting will be held here at 5 p.m. Thursday, May 15th at the Isaac, it's going to be here, correct? Are we going to do it at the gym? At the gym? Isaac Middle School Gym located at 3402 West McDowell, Phoenix, Arizona. And at this time, I need a motion for possible action to convene into executive session pursuant ARS 3843103, discussion and consultation for legal advice with attorneys of the public body, receiver duties and responsibilities of ARS 3843103, discussion of consultation with the attorney of the public body in order to consider as possible and instruct attorney regarding a public body position concerning contract that are subject of negotiations of the interim superintendent contract in ARS 3843108A1, discussion and consideration of employment and assignment and appointment of promotion salaries of a public officer, interim superintendent contract. Is there a motion?
So,
Is there a second?
okay.
Call for the vote. Okay, thank you. At this time, we go into executive session. Thank you. to an executive session and reconvene to regular session. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, call for the vote. Okay, motion carries. Next action, to instruct the district attorney to proceed as instructed in executive session and authorizing the governing board president to participate in the contract negotiation. Motion to instruct the district attorney to proceed as instructed in executive session and authorize the governing board president to participate in applicable contract negotiation. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Here. Second.
Okay, any questions? Nothing? Okay, call for the vote. Okay, motion carries. Next item is adjournment of the meeting. If there's no objections, meeting adjourned.